Hi, we're going to do some sample problems to help you get ready for the 8.GM.2 quiz. You are allowed to use these notes that you take while you're listening to this video on the quiz. So number 1, if the radius of a sphere increased from 3 feet to 9 feet, by how many cubic feet will the volume of the sphere increase? So you're going to want to do this twice. You're going to want to do it once with the volume being, or with the radius being 3, and once with the radius being 9. So when you look at this, your volume formula is 4/3 pi r cubed, 4/3 pi r, the radius was 3 this time, and then you're going to cube it. What you're going to notice is I left the pi symbol as pi because when you look at your multiple choice responses on the 8.GM.2 quiz, you'll notice that several times they leave them in pi. So you're just going to almost pretend like that's a variable. You just know what it equals. You know it equals 3.14159. So if you do 3 to the third power, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Well, then if you take 27, divide by 3, you get 9. And so then you have 9 times 4 is 36. And if you're thinking, Miss Burns, that's a fraction. How in the world did you do that? Do this first. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 27 times 4, and then divide by 3, and you'll get your 36 pi. You could do the same thing over here. Volume formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. This time the radius is 9. 4/3 times pi times 9 cubed. 9 times 9 times 9 times 4, and then divide by 3, and you get 972 pi. So to find how much bigger this one is than this one, you'll just subtract. Answer, 972 pi minus 36 pi, and you get 936 pi. Okay, so that's how much bigger. If they wanted it with the decimal, you could just take your answer times 3.14, and that would tell you what it is. Next question, it says the volume of a cone with a height of 6 centimeters is 18 pi centimeters cubed. If the cone's radius increased by 3 centimeters, how much will the cone's volume increase? Well, you have your formula, V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Now, they told us that the height is 6, and they told us that the volume is 18 pi. So 18 pi equals 1/3 pi. You don't know what the radius is yet, so you leave that as an r, squared times the height. If you take the 6 and the 1/3, 6 divided by 3 is 2, so that simplifies it a little. Then you have 2 times pi r squared. You want to get the variable by itself, that's the r, so you'll notice that you have a 2 pi, and it's all multiplication. So you can divide by 2 pi. 2 divided by 2 cancels, pi divided by pi cancels. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. 18 divided by 2 is 9, pi divided by pi cancels out, and it's now 1. So you don't need the pi anymore. So now you're left with r squared equals 9. Well, the opposite of squaring a number is square root, so the square root of r squared is r. The square root of 9 is 3. So the radius for this for this cone has to be 3. The next part of this question, because it can't be easy and just have one part, the next part of this question says if the cone's radius increased by 3, how much will the cone's volume increase? Well, if it's 3 now and it increases by 3, now you need to do the problem, except you know that the radius is 6. So V equals 1/3 pi r squared times h. 6 squared is 36. So then in my head, I did 36 divided by 3 is 12 times 6 is 72. Again, if you say, Miss Burns, I'm not good with fractions, you'll take 6 times 36 times 1 and then divide that by 3. You'll get 72 pi. So now the volume is 72 pi. The volume before was 18 pi. So how much did it increase? 72 pi minus 18 pi. Think of it like these are variables. If you have 72 x's and you take away 18 x's, you would have 54 x's. You just know what that x is. It's a pi. So 72 pi's, take away 18 pi's, you'll have 54 pi's left. 54 times pi. Now let's look at number 3. A cone with a volume of 1,152 pi meters squared has a radius of 12 meters. How can you relate the height with the radius? Well, start with your formula. V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. It tells us that the volume, it's right up here, 1,152 pi, equals 1/3. We're leaving the pi alone. And then r squared is 12, so it's 12 squared, times h. You don't know what h is, so you just bring it down. Now you can simplify. 12 squared is 144. So if you take 144, divide by 3, then you get your 48 pi. So this side simplifies to 48 pi h. And over here you still have the 1,152 pi. Well, same thing. This means multiply. 48 times pi times h. Well, the opposite of multiply is divide. So 48 divided by 48 equals 1. Pi divided by pi equals 1. So now you'll be left with h. When you take 1,152 pi divided by 48 pi, the pi's cancel, and you get h equals 24. Well, the radius was 12. So how can you rate the two? Or how can you relate the two? Well, the height is twice the radius. Now let's try the next question. Number 5. What is the volume of a spherical water balloon with the radius of 6 inches? Well, this one is not as tricky as some of the other ones. There's really only the one step. You want to find the volume, and they gave you the radius. So 4/3 times pi r to the third. They tell you that the radius is 6, so that's what you're going to plug in. 4/3 pi, 6 cubed. 6 times 6 times 6, 216. And then you would take 216 times 4, divide by 3, and you'll be left with 288 pi. So again, you can bring down your pi symbol. The volume would equal 288 pi inches cubed, because it's volume, inches cubed. Or if they don't have the pi symbol and you had to write it out, you just take 288 times, remember pi stands for 3.14, so 288 times 3.14, and you get 904.32 inches cubed. So again, feel free to use these notes on your quiz for 8.GM.2. However, you will have to give me this paper when you're done with the quiz. Thanks.